Welcome back, everyone. It is now time for the workshop session. So in this session, you will work in groups to discuss the difficulties related to climate risk insurance faced by all parties involved and to propose solutions to resolve these difficulties. The workshop will be facilitated by Bert Opdebik from Microinsurance Master. Bert is an active member of the inclusive insurance community since 2006. He is the founder of Microinsurance Master, the sector's first leadership program that helps organizations to build more and better risk alleviation solutions for low-income people in emerging economies. So I will hand over to Bert now, and I hope you've already split into your groups.
Hello, good morning again. So is everyone seated in their companies? I see some people who are sitting a bit on the side. Let's first make sure we can managed. Good. Vous parlez le français, messieurs? Vous pouvez joindre un de ces deux tables ici, s'il vous plaît. Good. As I told you before the break, it was great we had the chance to learn so much from others, and let's now see how that would be if we would have to put it in practice ourselves. So I'm not here to talk about Microinsurance Master or myself, but I'm here as a representative of ZACO. And ZACO is a cooperative of Zamunda, which you all know very well, of course, our neighboring country, Zamunda. And we, at ZACO, face some issues for our members. So I made up a little bit of a description on what ZACO is about what we do as a cooperative and who we work with as our members. And we are keen to explore how microinsurance can bring some solutions to our members. So that's why I invited you as companies to have a look at what we're doing, and to come up with some solutions for us by the end of this session. So in your binders, in your blue binders, you will find this description. Either in English, and it's also in French. If you want to have one in French and you don't have one, just you can ask at the front desk where some more are available. And please have a read through it for 5 minutes, and then we'll get back to start the discussion. Okay? So you can read up to point 3.4 a little bit to learn about ZACO, and then I will be able to answer some of your questions before you can dive into building your solutions. Good luck. Mm-hmm. Yes, in French. C'est en français? Can you get some more French versions? Yeah. Yes, we're going to get you one. All right, guys. You've seen that we at Zacco, we are suffering a bit, right? We have our loans that are not being paid back as we would like it to be because of all of the disasters and the weather conditions. Farmers really fall into errors. And on the other hand, we also want to improve our loan portfolio. So we want to give out more business loans, more loans to our members. And so that's why we got in touch with you to really to help us find a solution there. So I would really appreciate, I'm short on time, so that if you could help me out like within the next half an hour with sketching an idea of what you can possibly do, you as an insurer with your reinsurer partner. So what I would like you to do is to get you one page of the flip chart, just one page, and sketch your solution that you want to provide for me. And I give you some questions to make sure that you answer my concerns, which is the first question. So it's question 1 to 5. What segment would you cover of all our clients? Where would you want to focus on, and why would you want to focus there? And what would you insure? So what is the thing that you are going to help me with insuring so that ultimately we can get back on track, we can get a better performance? Can you give me some ideas how claims looks like? Because that's something I'm concerned with. I've heard about farmers who are insured and then they have a loss, but then they are not getting their payout. So how are you going to deal with that? How is that process going to work? Do we need to do a bit of the work? Are you going to do that? And then, I also want to know a little bit about how can we educate our clients? How can we educate members? Most have never heard of insurance before, so we're happy to step in and help, but how can you help us with that? And lastly, as you know, there is no really regulation that's already set in place for this, so maybe you can also give me some ideas how you're going to do that, how you're going to tackle that, though that's not more of your concern than mine. So it would be great if you can discuss that with your group and with your companies and sketch a solution in the next 20 minutes. And then we can review those to see how we are going about. Okay? So get yourself one page of the flip chart that's standing in the back. Just rip off one page, or you take the one easel to the front and you draw. So not too much of writing, but you draw a little bit how you would like to see that solution. Can you do that for me? All right. So good luck. If you have any questions, I'm here and I can fill you in. Okay. Looking forward to what you will come up with in the next 20 minutes.
Are you talking about the 4 bullets, the growers? Sorry, I don't want to be heard by the whole room. But I'll make this softer. This is, okay. But then also there's the remittance service users. So but this is kind of strange. Does everybody have a mic? Does each group? But we can't hear anybody else, but the whole room can definitely hear me. Can we please, because that's quite distracting. I'm not going to be comfortable to speak if I'm broadcasting. Thanks. Because one of the things that they say is that they don't want just the growers and the shopkeepers to be covered. I also think that's a good starting point. Maybe the remittance service users then as well. I mean, I think there's a huge number of them. Yeah, because one of the things they say is that remittances increase. Oh, that's much better. The remittances have to increase when there's a shock. But that's the good thing, because you want people to be able to help people in an easy way. So you've got a problem from the remittance sender's perspective because their remittance, their cash flow is uncertain. every year there's a big flood or a drought, they're going to get a big demand from their family for remittances. So if they can ensure that, I think that could be very useful because, yeah, yes, yes. Yes, they might need to do some research to find out their needs, but they do have their bank account details, their contacts, and they, yeah. I think you're asking about how would insurance be explained to the clients. We're basically talking about two types of products then, right? For the growers and the shopkeepers, some kind of loss protection, and then for the remittance service providers, some kind of cash flow stabilization, basically. Well, and yeah. So the one thing I was thinking is that I do think parametric insurance probably makes the most sense. It's explicitly prohibited by government, but I was wondering if we. No, it's explicitly not acknowledged. It's silent. Okay. Because I was thinking, I like that interpretation. Because what we can then do is we can engage with government to allow it on like a test and learn or a pilot basis. Yeah. Yes. Because I was wondering about the issue that there's no way you're going to be able to do individual indemnification or claims assessment or anything like that. So that's why I was thinking. Yeah, they can maybe even register as a broker. Can I just put another two potential target markets in the mix? The one is how about Zaco itself as the MFI because they're suffering losses when shocks hit, so they could do things like they could give credit repayment holidays when there's a natural disaster. So, if they get payout when there's a natural disaster, basically a meso type product. Um, yeah, am I making this too complicated? They could have a default cover if you're defaulting as a result of this risk. But what I would actually like to see, because the problem with that is that the business has gone under. So they protect against loss, but they've also lost the customer. And what I think is better is if they can give the person like 3 months, either a grace period or even just write off 3 months of repayments to give somebody time to get back on their feet. So either like a repayment holiday or because then you're just retaining the clients and they're not going under as a result of your product. Yeah, I think it can also be parametric, so they can also they can just receive the cover and then they can pass on the benefit. They, they don't have, do they not have bank accounts? So they don't have an identification document, but do they not have a bank account? Because, sorry, where's the bank account? Or like, I mean, it could be a mobile money account. No, so I mean, in many cases, you get bank accounts and mobile money accounts based on things like voter registration cards or alternative forms of identity. So I think, well, what you could perhaps do to get around that is that there could be a group life policy or group policy for ZACU. Yeah, but that's often like a 15 to 20-year process. So you should be able to give people products even without land title, I think. And what ZACA is probably doing is they're coming up with some creative way of identifying people, either using a mobile phone number or a fingerprint, like some kind of biometric.
Lisez bien. Et allez. Oui. Ah, d'accord. Ouais. Qui n'ont pas de produits. Eh ouais, ouais, c'est vrai, c'est vrai. Ouais, ouais, ouais. Ils sont au moins 38 000. Oui, oui, au moins 38 000. Oui, les deux catégories là, au moins 38 000. Là, d'accord. Ça monte encore. Ils sont au moins 60 000. Ils sont au moins 60 000 maintenant. Oui. On ne peut pas les additionner. Hein. Ouais, ouais. Oui, ça c'est le support. Comment on va... Non, mais notre produit est adressé aux membres de la ZACO. Notre produit que nous devons concevoir. C'est ce que, voilà. Donc maintenant, on pourra utiliser, oui, utiliser le canal, le support des transferts là, pour adresser ce produit-là. Puisqu'on a dit qu'ils sont difficiles d'accès. Voilà, puis là, ça concerne tout le monde. Oui, ça c'est un moyen pour peut-être greffer notre produit au produit des transferts, de distribution, voilà. Oui, et puis on résout pour tout le monde, quoi. Ah, ah, d'accord, oui, 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 oui. Concentré, oui, pas tout le monde, ouais, ouais. À travers les produits de transfert. Oui, on n'en a pas. On n'en a pas. Les- C'est vrai. On ne s'est pas entendu tout à l'heure sur le segment là. Parce que pour moi, le segment, c'est que nous sommes nombreux. Il y en a qui veulent les prêts, il y en a qui veulent les crédits agricoles. Maintenant, nous choisissons quel segment. Pour moi, c'est ça, le segment. On choisit un segment et on adresse et on fabrique un produit pour ce segment-là. Pas tout le monde. Oui. Ouais, ils seront tous touchés. Oui. 30 000. De réfléchir. Ouais, ouais. Oui. 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 Diable. Ouais, ouais. Important. Ouais, important, oui. Et il doit coûter moins cher. Abordable. Dans les contraintes en termes de police, ça ne doit pas dépasser une page, ça doit contenir toutes les clauses, tout ça là. Oui, des contraintes réglementaires fortes. Hein. Oui, nous sommes tous autorisés. Voilà. Abordable. Oui. Ouais, ouais. Ah, je vous suggère, avant qu'on poursuive, hein, comme ça c'est une version qui est traduite, prenons un peu la version anglaise, comme ça, hein, vous comprenez un peu, parce que ça c'est une version qui est traduite. Non, surtout le problème de segment là, quand vous regardez bien quel segment ou quel membre, donc on ne doit pas assurer tout le monde. Nous ne sommes pas censés assurer tout le monde.
On fait un choix. On fait un choix.
C'est ça, non? Les producteurs.
On peut
Voilà,
choisir.
d'accord. Ok. Oui, très faible. Oui. Une masse critique. Oui. Non? Les producteurs. Oui. ouais, de personnes. Ouais. Ouais, on nous demande de choisir, ouais, ouais. Oui, oui, bien sûr. Ouais, 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 ouais. Oui, très cher. Quel niveau? Dans tout le pays. Donc, le Zamunda, là, et c'est mhm. Des bénéficiaires, là. Oui, on sait, on connaît. On est au courant.
By the title of ownership. Where
They would
the
have
size of the land they have, you can easily identify them.
they would have a method to identify them,
Yeah.
even though it's not through an identification document.
Document, yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. We want to cover at the initial stage the loans, the business loan, farmers credit, that is it.
And the potential or a payout if there's natural disasters for the produce that they.
That they experience in cultural input at the initial stage.
Yes.
Once you become familiar with coverage, you will expand the coverage. That first,
Okay.
what is the experience in crop insurances or micro insurances?
Yes.
Are beginners cannot pay premium for large scale coverage. Farm credits, usually these farm buy seeds or like that. If saving product, these are the services it provides.
Technical advice, I think you
It's
can.
about on agriculture. This is
But I think how you can tap into that technical advice is those people already give advice. So if you can educate them so that they're in a position to give advice on insurance products as well. And I think, working with the regulator, you'll have to discuss with them, on areas where there's difficulties. So potentially they might not know everything up front, but there's a training process in place. So there'll probably have to be transitional arrangements to get to where you should or where you envisage to be.
let's finish with number two. Yeah. Have to look this providing credit. Gross. Back the loans and the number of years is going down. That is what the SACCO or cooperative want as a solution. Yeah, to provide protection for the loans. Credit.
How would the claims process look like? How would the claims process look like?
Do the sign language.
Here we said
You say,
we'll engage the regulator.
Yeah, but what will
but then we,
It's a segment from
so the crops.
that's it. Ne?
Engage with the regulation of the. Insure for risk assessment.
mobile thing? Yeah? What is that?
No, guys, 4.3.
Mobile
money.
termination.
And then explanation.
Okay, I'm
right?
just gonna say here, Zako, and then I'll just say for access, ne?
Yeah, access.
Even here, access.
Cool. Then point 4.
Can I go to?
Yeah, we can.
All right. Okay, guys and ladies, thank you so much. We're going to try to bring it all together. Ok, je vais demander à vous de faire des commentaires sur le... Il ne faut plus le mettre sur papier, ça va. Je vais demander comme ça. All right. So you can return to your seats and we'll see what you made out of it. It's okay, you can just explain what you had. Okay? It's okay. Cool. Okay. So, how was this in terms of an exercise? Who found this very easy? Who found this very difficult? Yeah. Who found it a little bit difficult? Okay, so there's still some people undecided. So let's see. I mean, obviously, time is short, information you had is limited, but on the other hand, that's very often also where you're going to start from if you were in an insurer's shoes and you need to build something for the first time. So let us try to see what you came up with solutions. I heard some great things. I'm eagerly looking forward to what the final version looks like. So maybe, may I ask the group sitting over there to answer like question 1 and 2, which is, what are the segments you're going to want to propose to Zako to cover, and what are you going to cover them with. I'll see if we can get you a microphone, or you have someone who has a microphone. No. All right. So, what are the segments, and what are you going to provide them with as insurance cover?
Okay, cool. So we started off with by looking at the entire beneficiaries, the 7 million people, and we said we're going to focus on the crop growers and the shopkeepers, and they did say here that focusing on these two won't be sufficient for the products. So we said.
So you're going to focus on the crop growers and the shopkeepers.
Shopkeepers, right? And then the savings investments, and then focusing on these 7 million beneficiaries also kind of looks into like things like life cover, which we're going to speak to when it comes to question 2. But then the reason why we said we're going to cover these, we said they're all affected by climate-related risks, and natural catastrophic events. There's a ripple effect. If there's flooding or there's drought, the crops are the initial affected, parts. But then there's a ripple effect, in terms of the shopkeepers not having products to sell, savings being affected as well. So
but am I getting you right that you're going to insure all of my client segments?
Sorry?
You're going to insure all my client segments?
Yeah, all
wow,
the
my members will be happy.
And then the other reason as well, we said with more penetration, there is much larger thing. We're getting more more premiums, from more people. So that may be cost effective, which means we might be able to reduce the premiums. And then we think it's financially sustainable as well, with a larger pool of income. And then the insurable interest that we focused on, we said crops, as we did mention that, factors such as droughts, flooding, they do affect the crops. So we said we're going to provide the cover for the crops themselves, and then we're going to provide the cover for investments, and then we're going to provide cover for income loss. And then we're also going to provide cover for life, life insurance, basically.
So you have life cover, income, investments, crop. Is that like one package, or is it 4 different?
No, it's going to be separate. Yes, it's going to be separate. Like for example, life, you can't really associate it with like short term. Okay. So crops will probably be like under short term, investments as well, and then so it can be kind of into 3 clusters. The assets, crops, and then looking at the investment sides. Where the money, the savings are being used, and then the life as well, which is more like your life cover, or like just like life insurance, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's a very comprehensive cover, both in terms of segment and in terms of what you're going to insure. I'm curious when you're going to get your actuaries in and going to price it to see what that will bring us to, but it looks appealing for us for now. So maybe if I may ask the group over here, what is the segment that you are going to insure?
Merci. Donc nous également, nous avons pensé.
Thank you. We also thought about the 7 million to leverage the numbers and make sure that we have a cost-effective products, comprehensive and sustainable. And we drew that inspiration from the fact that there is 7 million beneficiaries of fund transfers, which are coming from the region, and we have 60,000 users of the service of fund transfer services. So we assume that they will continue to do those transfers. So we need to find a way to have those 7 million benefit from it. So our segment is 7 million, and we plan to insure them against droughts. And we will have to explain to the regulatory authority how it's going to work in order to get the buy-in, because it's not specifically explained, and it's not specifically banned either. And we feel that it is possible to convince the authority of the interest of this product. But you're not covering my members, but those who are receiving transfers or subsidies from government. We are covering the members. But we need to convince the 7 million beneficiaries of the interest of coverage, knowing that the 7 millions are not completely covered by ASACO because we work in a region, but the 7 millions are scattered around the country. But ASACO uses or manages the fund transfer for 7 million people, so we intend to use the same network of fund transfer for insurance purposes. Is there an objection there? I have an objection. And the main objection is that what we seek to do is a product that concerns the eastern region. It's not a product for national coverage. Secondly, if you try to work on the 7 million beneficiaries, it's an intermittent service. But what we seek to do is to obtain loyal and stable customers, and that will establish a nucleus, if you want, on the basis of which we're going to build. So it will make it less complicated. Amongst the 7 million, there are many of them that are scattered in different other regions, and those people might not be affected by the same risks and that we are listing here. So if you're going to work on the 7 million, you will have a large portion of that 7 million showing no interest or no appetite for the risks that you seek to cover. And so you run the risk of having a product that is not particularly targeted. So this is my analysis.
What is interesting for you as an insurer, and obviously you want to have a large outreach, you would like to reach as many as people as possible, versus what is the client's demand, what's the client's interest, and where do you meet? And how can you, on the one hand, make sure that you are having, as we defined in the requirements, a product that can be sustainable, that you can reach scale, which you definitely can do with 7 million nationwide, because you have that opportunity to grow to other regions. But on the other hand, how you balance that with the client value, in this case, ZACO and the members of ZACO. And the question might indeed be that from the beneficiaries of this transfer from the government, that these are, some are members, but they're not all members. So we might have some members that feel their needs are not fully met. So that's definitely something that we can bring in the discussion here. Maybe the group over there in the corner, can you also answer the first two questions in case it would be any different? So who are you going to cover, and what are you going to provide as a cover?
Okay, fine. Initially we considered the members of ZACO, so the farmers, the shopkeepers, and the people who receive the remittances. And the aim was to try and achieve scale, because there's not enough farmers and shopkeepers. We also considered that maybe we should cover ZACO itself as an entity rather than the members of ZACO, possibly for some sort of payout or financing so that they can give installment holidays to their members at times when there's a natural catastrophe. And then we did also consider the aim to reach the beneficiaries, the government beneficiaries over time, so that we can grow the product to a larger scale. And then so we really wanted to meet people's needs because they have financial losses at the time of a catastrophe in different forms, but there's still a financial loss, and that we wanted to achieve scale. But we also considered we might need to have a group policy because the individual members might not be able to provide the documentation to become an individual policy holder, so that ZACO would probably be the policy holder even for the shopkeepers and the farmers. And then in terms of cover, we wanted to cover just a lump sum payment if a certain event occurred, and focusing on natural catastrophes, so that we can avoid the issues of like proving that there's a loss at a later time. So we're considering a parametric product,
Right.
and we're hoping that the fact that there's nothing in the regulations does not mean that it
it's
can't be
excluded.
done.
Right. That's interesting. And I like how you, on the one hand, try to balance being very effective with going into a group policy, so meaning that you as insurer have an easier task with just having one counterpart. But on the other hand, you also mentioned we want to make sure that we meet client needs. So how are you going to, did you get some discussion going on that, how you balance that, or how are you going to find what are the client needs?
So we didn't talk about, so obviously we're hoping ZACO understands their customers well, and that they will be able to give some good input into the experiences of the farmers and the shopkeepers. But obviously maybe the people who receive remittances is a bigger unknown, so you would need to do research on them and for the government beneficiaries. But it's not going to be an indemnity or a proper compensation, but it's hopefully will be some sort of finance to help people get on their feet again.
Right. And that's interesting. I think that maybe one key component that is missing in our case here is who? Who is not in here? No? So this talks about the regulator. There's talked about the insurer. There's talk about ZACO, who is not. So the insured, so the beneficiaries, so the clients. And that if you are in that kind of debate as insurer between potential clients like the microfinance institution with the regulator, you can get caught up in all of the technical details. And in the end, you might have forgotten about what are the real needs of the client. So it's great that you mentioned that we really want to make sure that you meet client needs. And as insurer, it's not always easy to find that because you come in as a second body next to the microfinance institution, who you indeed can rightly and hopefully assume that they understand client needs, but maybe they're also not really equipped to find out what are the risks people face, what are the insurance needs. So there is definitely a debate that you will have to start with your counterpart to understand, are we really sure these are the client needs? How are we going to be met? And I think that if you see at a lot of the innovation that comes in microinsurance, a lot of the organizations that are making a big difference, they have a common thread. And the common thread is being client-centric, meaning starting from the client, starting from client understanding and growing solutions from there. Secondly, and linked to that is also, I think I heard it in one of the group's discussions, is insurance the solution at all? Is insurance going to be the solution? Because it's not always the case that insurance can solve it in full. And again, I think there are some great examples where you see that insurance is coming as a complement next to other things. And in the case of ZACO, what could be worthwhile exploring is how you can complement services, products that ZACO can maybe do. For instance, if there is an emergency and you can bundle an insurance payout with emergency credits, maybe that ZACO can provide, you get a stronger offering. So again, this is a call for what is a holistic understanding, an holistic approach to microinsurance and to the risks people face, and understand that microinsurance or inclusive insurance is a part of the solution, but most likely not a full solution. So how can you complement that as a whole? And I think there are several avenues that are being shown that are possible. So that's, I think, a great initial debate that you had here. Who wants to give it a try, like the claims process? Did anyone get like really into detail there and thought about how a claims process could look like? Maybe this group over here.
Okay, thank you. These are members of the ZACO cooperative. So it's better to use the cooperative as a distribution channel and as well as a claims processing channel. Because these people, they don't have ID cards, they don't have ownership title, and they work without registration. But they have still an insurable interest. So whenever there is a loss, because they took loans, and when there is drought or floods, then immediately they cannot repay at least the loan.
Right.
So this can be proved in a very simple and short way, because an insurance company cannot have its people on this particular area. It's better to use the cooperative as a claims processing channel.
So you would rely on ZACO to pay out the claims?
Yeah, to pay out claims and to provide, to collect, to validate the claims themselves, because they are close to the
So it's ZACO who's going to validate and pay out the claims, and you're going to channel it through ZACO. Is there any other solutions that you came up with? One over there.
Oui, merci. S'agissant du processus de règlement des sinistres,
concerning the claim processing, the segment that we focused on was the farmers and the shopkeepers in the event of a disaster, whether it's droughts or flooding or cyclone. And we say that the activating component will be a declaration from the government that will declare a disaster. And once the government has declared a disaster, the insured affected will also declare being a victim. So it will declare with the insurer. And once all these elements have been activated, and on the basis of prior work that have been done by the insurer, which has taken the initiative to develop this product, and based on the research that is done on the historical research on catastrophes and the disasters in the area, when the claims that have been done by the different insurers will pay out based on an average premium. So in the event of the disaster, and based on that average, which will be known by the insurer, he will simply implement that average premium rate to the savings currently held by the insured in order to determine what is the amount that he needs to pay out. And as the panel said earlier, we will then take into account the fund transfers, the remittances, in order to pay out to the victims.
Challenges as well. And I think with this exercise so far, I think that you can see if you're in an insurer's shoes, there's so many challenges and unknowns, all right? You don't really know what is the client need, how is this going to work? You don't even know if the regulator is going to approve what you do, let alone pricing, let alone all of the data that you have to do it together. So one of the things that indeed we also very often recommend is to have a customer-centric approach, meaning to really start from the customer, but also to be very agile in your process, to be very lean in your approach, meaning to start something but not kind of have it as fixed and solid, but to keep on learning what's happening, to keep on improving your offering time and again so that you really get it better and better together. We run out of time, but I quickly want to change sides as well. We have now looked at it from an insurer perspective, and then now we cross the street where the regulator is, and you get that urgent request. Hey, we have this opportunity, we need to act now because the farming season is going to start and we want to get into production. Are we allowed to do so? So how, as a regulator, would you respond to that? I saw some of the answers already, so maybe what would be your response of that group? How would you, as a regulator, try to go along or not with that? Would you kind of say, we'll have to study this, come back in a couple of months, sorry if you missed this season as opportunity, but, or do you see some other ways you can work together with the insurance company? What was your response there? Maybe a microphone? Where did it go to? Oh, right.
Okay, so for us, we realized that we'd have to bend some of our rules, we'd have to relax because apart from ZACO's members itself, the government also depends on ZACO to service about 7 million beneficiaries nationwide. So we're going to relax some of our rules generally. And then we also thought of going with the insurer hands-on, advising them to involve the reinsurer right from the beginning, seeing whatever help they need from our side, providing an enabling framework so they can work with it. We were cognizant of the fact that the members were illiterate, so the fact about the policies being written in English will have to be relaxed a bit, probably a basic policy in English, but there'll have to be translations and intensive education, public education. So generally relaxing the rules, but making sure that the policyholders' interest is still protected.
Right, but I see you're working along with, you're going to kind of promote and stimulate the development. I saw one word standing on your slide, maybe you can show it or you can tell what it was. On question number, I think you answered to question number 5. So there is the last word, sandbox. That's what you're going to try to accomplish, to create a sandbox where you can test these ideas. And you as a regulator also learn from it. Were there any other solutions from a regulatory perspective that people have thought of? Please.
Yeah. Yes, as a regulator, for purposes of a quicker turnaround time, we would look for a situation where we would have a workshop set up in terms of just product description, so that the approval time is shorter. You just sit in the morning, within a couple of hours, you have asked all the questions that needs to be asked, and you're done. We also want, obviously, to make sure that the same product meets the customer fairness requirements. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure the product is well explained and the payment arrangements in the event of an event occurring are all in order. Then in terms of on a continuous basis, the insuring entity should then be reporting to the regulator on a continuous basis. That should be one of the conditions that, as a regulator, you want to put. Dispute resolution, again, we link it to customer fairness issues. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One of the other things I heard in the discussions coming up was to go as quickly as possible as an insurer to see the regulator, so to make sure that you can already kind of bring the idea, what are we going to do, and work with the regulator alongside the entire process, and not to wait until you have a carved out product and only then to go to ask and maybe get a rejection back. So to really to kind of to see where it is. And in that sense, it helps to kind of also to remind the regulator very often of also the ambition and the mission to make sure that we get more people insured. So in that sense, to have the regulator on board as a partner rather than just as the controller of what you're doing. Maybe one last comment?
Oui, le dernier commentaire, c'est que...
The last comment to answer that question is that we need to link it to the preceding question, that is, how would you work with the regulator on the basis of an explanatory note of the project, which is presented by the insurer, and a technical note on the policy. I think the regulator will give his approval in principle pending the submission of a report that could be monthly on the subscriptions, on the payouts, and the sorts, so that on a monthly basis we can assess effectively whether the project is truly responding to the interest of the insured and the beneficiaries, so that after a period of 3 to 6 months the policy can be revisited.
With that, we have to conclude this case study. We ran a bit over time even, but I think it was great to see how much of ideas and energy that went floating in that hour, and how well you actually came to a solution and understanding the difficulties. And I hope that this exercise has helped as well to create a little bit more understanding and even empathy for the different stakeholders and different sides of the story, and that it is not a given and not easy for none of us involved. We are on uncharted territory. We all there to ultimately help to get more people insured, and it requires a lot from either the insurer, from the intermediary, and also from the regulator to make that happen. So thank you so much for the exercise, but above all, thank you so much for contributing to that cause of bringing more people to insurance. Thank you.
So thank you to all the groups for your contributions and for your ideas. It has been a great reporting session, I think. Now, before I hand over to Teresa for closing words, I would just like to take a moment and briefly acknowledge and thank and compliment our audiovisual and production teams over there who have supported us these 2 days and who have ensured the great coverage and streaming of this event. And lastly, our interpreters in the back of the room. Thank you for a great job you've done, guys. Right. Now, Teresa, over to you.
Thanks, Tonya. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Access to Insurance Initiative, I would like to thank you for your participation in the 16th Consultative Forum on Climate and Disaster Risk. Many thanks for your interest in the topic and for actively contributing to this event. I hope that you enjoyed the presentations and discussions and that you return to your offices inspired and with some new ideas. I would also like to thank those following us through the live stream. And a big thank you, of course, to our great panelists, moderators, and discussants. We really enjoyed your contributions. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experiences with us. A special thanks go to the African Insurance Organization for again hosting us, and of course to our core organizers, the IAIS, the Microinsurance Network, and Insure Resilience. And let us not forget to thank the great team here on the ground, the interpreters, the technicians, the local event organizing team, and Thursday, who is outside dealing with the registrations. Your support to make this event a success is highly appreciated. Thank you very much. And before handing over to Priska Suarez for the official closing of this event, let me just highlight some key messages from the last 2 days on what the different stakeholders can do to help bridging the protection gap. The insurers, reinsurers, intermediaries can help by sharing their knowledge they have on risk, by being creative and innovative. As Kervin just said, think out of the box, use technology for distribution, claims, and so on. By building multi-country initiatives, as presented by Shola from Continental Re, by partnering on the sovereign level, like the African risk capacity. This is also a way to make countries more resilient, or governments. And of course, by developing products that are easily accessible, affordable, and understandable for smallholder farmers, like the example from Pula presented by Victor, and the index-based product they are offering to the low-income people. For insurance supervisors, regulators, governments, what they can do is, for example, or how they can contribute is by making sure that regulations enable the growth of climate risk insurance markets and do not create any unnecessary barriers. As Eric said earlier today, enable a regional multi-country perspective, and to have one voice is essential. And I think that's also true when it comes to supervisors, not only relevant for the industry. And just some aspects, just some aspects that were mentioned continuously during these 2 days. Either the industry itself or the government itself cannot address climate risk. We need a broader collaboration, and partnership is crucial. We need to involve also communities in the discussions. We should leverage our resources, come together as a collective to address this issue. And as Janice nicely said, we should stop these fragmented approaches, and not only between different entities, but also between or among the different countries. We should focus on coordination, so who does what. We should give a ministry or an entity with a strong background, a role in coordinating the processes. Another aspect that was mentioned several times is trust. As Kervin said, you won't achieve anything without trust. Trust and communication are essential. And we should keep in mind that insurance is not the solution or the only solution to solve all climate change-related issues, but it is a very important tool within a broader risk management strategy. And as Shola said, the recent devastation by Cyclone Idai in Kenneth is just another wake-up call for the urgent need for action and collaboration. We should not wait for such an event to happen in our countries before implementing risk management strategies. We have to be prepared. So let's be persistent, as Mia said, open and creative to make this change happen. It's time for action, and it's time to join hands. And I think the examples that were presented over the last 2 days are very promising, but we need more of them. So for those traveling back today, I wish you safe travels, and I hope to see you all soon again. I just wanted to quickly highlight that all the presentations will be uploaded on our website. We will also share the link with you. You will also find a full video of this event on our YouTube channel. And just my last comment now, please also join us for the next Consultative Forum taking place in Bangladesh on the same topic. If you're not able to travel to Bangladesh, there will be live streaming of the event again. Thank you very much. I'd like to hand over to Priska Suarez for closing the event. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a very long week for all of us, and I'm glad to see that we still have quite a number staying until the end of this consultative forum. I think the interest shows that we all realize that climate risk and the need to build resilience is very real. I think in the past we have thought that some of these things were very remote from us, but I think the experience in Mozambique recently is a wake-up call for all of us to realize that really anything can happen anywhere and we need to be prepared. I have no doubt that the discussions that have been held over the last couple of days will contribute to the agenda going forward on building resilience and climate risk. I am aware that there are several initiatives with regard to this subject. We in the African Insurance Organization have been working on the creation of a natural catastrophe risk pool. And it hasn't taken off yet because the ad hoc committee working on it is trying to find the right kind of modeling. And they have decided now to partner with Africa Risk Capacity. So we're working together with them to see how best to handle this. So I believe that there's a need to coordinate all these initiatives so that we do not dissipate energy and resources. And I believe that the African Insurance Organization is ready to partner with everybody else who's on this subject so that we can pool resources and do come up with a strategy that will, for the benefit of our industry in Africa. It's been a long week, as I've said, and I wouldn't want to keep you away because I'm sure that some of you will also want to take a tour of Johannesburg. I would like to express the appreciation of the African Insurance Organization, in particular to A2II, Access to Insurance Initiative. We started this journey in 2011. That was when we had the first consultative forum. Then we called it Policy Seminar. And we didn't realize that it was something that was going to go on for so long. We thought perhaps we'd do it. Maybe it was going to be a one-off. But A2II has continuously expressed their readiness to continue to work with us, and this we highly appreciate. We also appreciate the collaborative efforts of the partners that have made it possible for us to have this consultative forum. So we'd like to thank also the Microinsurance Network, the International Association of Insurance Supervisors, and Insure Resilience Global Partnership. Thank you very much to all of you. I'd also like to thank all the speakers. I believe some have left, but hopefully they do get our thanks for taking time out to come and share knowledge and stimulate discussion among the participants. And of course, I cannot leave out the participants because if we organize this consultative forum and you did not come, then the event would not have taken place. So I do thank you. I know that there are lots of things competing. You could have wanted to go out shopping or to go and do some tourism. So I thank you for the time that you have spent to be with us here. I'd like to join Dunia and Teresa in thanking the audiovisual team as well as the team of interpreters who have helped us communicate among ourselves. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to close this session and wish you all a safe journey back to your respective destinations. God bless you all.